It is special.
And to the bottom right, as the red Zerg, he is Team Exxon's Cham.
You know, I've noticed in the past the past month or two, since playing a lot of ladder, nearly everybody I play is either Team Alpha X or Exxon. Have you noticed this?
Yes, actually. I think we were talking about it yesterday, me and Nate. Like, Exxon has just picked up a lot of really great players. And then, yeah, of course, Alpha X as well.
It's in the other team, the Archangel. I meet a lot of players from that team as well. But yeah, whenever I run into a ladder player, it's like they're at least part of one of these teams. I'm like, holy crap, how many people did these guys recruit?
Yeah.
But it is nice to see that, like Team Exxon, for example, bolstering two very, very solid Latin American players. Yeah.
Exactly. A couple of the players from Europe as well that are up and coming, really. Exxon choosing that just the right time. I was kind of comparing it to like Psystorm a couple of years ago, where it was like they're picking up really solid players, ended up being like real staples of the North American scene. And that just kind of seems to be the coincidence here. I mean, when Special is teamless, it just like always like it makes sense for everyone to kind of want to just pick him up, put him on their team, as he's always been a very, very good player. But then there's also more like the homegrown. It seems like they've been on it for a while for Exxon. And then, yeah, Alpha X as well. Working with them for King of Battles, I learned that I see them everywhere, right? Like, so many things are going on tournament-wise and player-wise. And then I learned that it is actually just like a super active clan, right? Like, lots of volunteers contributing to just make it that feeling that I thought might have been lost, because I haven't had it in a while. You know, back when you were first getting into a multiplayer game and you like got attached to a clan or a group, and then it just made you want to play because everyone else was playing too. So really cool stuff still happening.
Yeah, definitely. And it's nice to see that some of these clans as well, they've got players that have become very good very quickly and seemingly out of the blue as well. Like Estrella for Alpha X, Zaun for Alpha X as well, which apparently is pronounced Zhaun?
Zhaun.
Yes, I'm never going to get that right, okay? So, but yeah, very, very solid players.
Absolutely. I got some decent harassment going on here. Finally gets that drone down. Special is going for a 3cc back at home. So, definitely doesn't want to lose the Reaper, but as long as it's away from the Queen and there's no speed, which there won't be for another like 20 seconds, more power to the Reaper. And then a follow-up into that second barracks. Well, I'm not terribly surprised, as we are also on a bigger, more macro map like Romanticide.
And what a different way, or what a different ZVT we're seeing here so far as well. Like, Cham is obviously playing a lot more standard than what Eric was opening. This is a lot more what you see as your regular. Special, on the other hand, he is doing the build that we saw. It was Clem do this build, right? The 3cc into the 2-on-1. So we're going to see what he chooses to do. But it's absolutely lovely to see how many different openings and variations. And okay, that's a Cham special though, the Roach Warren. He's a man that loves his roaches.
Yes, he is, and he's very good with them. I still consider him a player who would also actually adapt from just doing the 1-1 roach push. Like, maybe he does the push, but then I think he actually would try and even say, okay, I've done enough, or I'm clearly not going to do anything, and then adds on a Baneling Nest. Or even, like, I've seen him play, like, just Roach Ravager into Ultra, funnily enough. But he is going to get a really good idea of what's going on, just the amount of Marines that are already out. He didn't actually get into
I think he's going to all in.
Yeah, I think so as well. But whether he knows that Special is going to go for 3cc until that point, I mean, might not matter. The point is he is doing it, and Special does have, particularly a lack of tanks. They have a decent amount of Marines, but let's see how he holds it.
Yeah, I like, depending on what Cham's seen so far. These Hellions, they are getting into a juicy spot, and the Evo Chamber was just a moment too late there. So these drones, they get a nice surround, and the roaches will help clear it up as well. Actually, I mean, 8 drones dying definitely sucks, especially when you're trying to do a juicy attack like this, but that could have went way worse.
Absolutely. The drone surround on it was actually pretty decent. But that just scouted, and I think either I think his factories are on a tech lab, but even if it wasn't, I think that would have given him some extra seconds, some extra preparation to go ahead and swap it back onto one. So a tank is on the way. He's going to have a wall, he's going to have bunkers by the looks of it, and I'm not so sure anymore that this is actually going to work. That is going to be a good number of Marines that might even have stim. The tank's in kind of a worrying position for me, but with no Overlord around, what does it matter?
Certainly, and I mean, the fact that Special's outside of his wall to greet this, actually not running back to get into the bunkers that way, and he's like, you know what, I'm going to lift up and go back in, but still, that tank is in a nice position here, getting big, juicy shots off, not actually going into the bunkers here with his bio, he's just like kind of man-fighting it with his SCVs. Definitely an interesting choice, but the supplies, they are not meant to be this close when you're against Roach, Ravager, and Cham. GG's out almost immediately. Is this going to be one of the fastest Latin American nights that we've had so far? It is looking like it.
You know, Wardy and I were talking about there's one day, I think it's next week, where it's like only Europe, so it's like 5 matches or something like that. I think this might even beat that. If this is how Special is going to beat Cham in the next 2 matches. That was quick, but also I guess one of those things where you're just like, well, Cham didn't work. You just tapped out. That's the position he absolutely was in. It made a lot of sense. Makes sense to try and cheese him, but did it make sense on that map? And I guess, yeah, I mean, the tank was in such a brutal position. Like, was he supposed to bring an Overlord over and maybe that could have changed things up? Or was he just really hoping it was never going to be scouted, and it was?
I think Special reacted really damn quickly to get the tank out and stuff like he did, because I actually, when I've done that build personally, I've actually lost against a Roach Ravager all-in, purely because I had Hellions and Marines, and even though they're good, they didn't really do well against the Roach Ravagers. So I kind of like Cham's build choice. The Hellions getting in and dealing that much damage when you're doing a Roach all-in, like, that shouldn't be happening, like to allow that kind of thing, especially against a player as good as Special. Like, that was definitely an error.
Absolutely. And I think in general, like the best case scenarios of those Hellions see the Roaches coming across the map, like midway or something like that. Your bunkers are only, like, they're not finishing. You are not preparing with the tank, because that's not usually part of the build. But because it was that scout at that right time, right as the Roaches were popping from their eggs, I think it did allow him to swap back onto a tech lab or build one, because they're the faster of the 2 buildings to build. And that was certainly a difference. And so Cham didn't bring an Overlord because he didn't think he would need one. He thought he was going to go up against pure Marines. And yeah, strategically, like hypothetically, it's probably a very strong build to do. But the way it was executed, that's always important in StarCraft.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And now we're getting on to Submarine in this best of 5, which was picked by our Zerg player, which is interesting, but if the first game was anything to go by, it's a short map, and he likes to rush with his Roaches. Anyhow, spawning in the top left-hand side, as the blue Tyrant is Special.
And in the bottom right, as the red Zerg for Team Exxon, he is Cham.
I just saw Cham was kind of smiling, and then he like scratched his chin and his hair at the same time, like probably thinking, how am I going to beat this guy, eh? But if you are Cham, and you go up against Special in the semi-finals as opposed to potentially meeting him in the finals, it is a rough draw, right? Like, he is kind of the one to beat for these boys over in Latin America.
Yeah, absolutely. That's still a case. It's worth mentioning that last season was not a fluke. It wasn't that Special was particularly bad that season. Cham has beaten Special in other cases. I mean, some of the smaller stuff, to bring some up, like the Pizza Pie tournament, as well as the SC King of the Hill. But yeah, it happens. So I really don't think Cham is coming in here thinking it's insurmountable. But you absolutely have to give Special the respect and kind of still think of yourself as an underdog. But I don't think nearly as much as maybe people who don't watch this region would think when they see the matchup.
No, certainly. And, with how Kelazil was playing as well, even if Cham, whoever goes through, honestly, Kelazil looks so good against Eric, and I know they are potentially, quite different levels, at least from that series, you'd say so. Like, Latin America is definitely it feels like a 3-horse race at this point in time, which is very cool to see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it definitely is. Cham is, I mean, he might fall today. I mean, we can't not think of a possibility where he does get 3-0'd, but that is what the lower bracket is for. And I think he'll do very well there. Yeah, we got a regular 2-1-1 from Special, don't we?
It's okay. It's weird because it's the factory before. Actually, is it regular? Like, if you
no, it is. You're right. It is different.
Weird. It's weird. Like, I'm not entirely sure where it's going to go with this. So for those at home, like the 2-1-1, it's usually the order of how you like build your buildings, kind of thing. So the 2 stands for the 2 barracks, then the 1 factory, and then the 1 starport. But Special, he actually made his factory before. Yeah, look at this zombie group. Like, this is super weird.
Yeah, exactly. It's the barracks, factory, and the command center thrown in there, of course. And then, maybe you see the factory with that 3cc, like literally what the last game build looked like. But no, this is a weird way to do it on 2 bases. I guess he go. What? You know what? No, I'm not even going to guess. I actually don't know what exactly this is going to go into, because we see like the Hellion version of this, but you still do the typical 2-1-1 build order. You just don't swap the factory off to support the starport medevac production. But this is just not starport, or much later starport. And maybe it's a streamlined version of it. Maybe him and TY put their heads together and was like, no, this is a far superior way of doing it. But it's new to us.
It's very new to us. And this starport, like, I wouldn't be surprised if he squeezes out a 3rd and 4th Hellion, and that's what he does before the starport finishes and then gets the switch off. But this very much, if you're thinking like, hey guys, I'm going to start doing this build on Jagannatha, which is like the longest map in the pool pretty much. No, this is totally a build that is tailored for it being a very short rush distancy map. And we do get to see very unusual builds come out on Submarine from both, or from all races, just given that it is so small and Special. He's constantly scouting. And right now, Cham hasn't really been able to scout too much behind all this, so he doesn't know exactly what he's up against. If he can get these Hellions, though, that would be a big deal.
Yeah, he's not going to get them, but that would have been huge. I'm just wondering if this, like, does it look like a 3cc version? Like, it is a weird way of putting things together. And you're right about that swap off. Medevacs are on the way. It's going to be a later drop. Something had to change, right? To have those Hellions also mixed in with the 2-1-2 bases. We're always thinking about that 5 minutes. And the Zerg players have really gotten super on point against it too. And they stop droning 445, get a couple extra queens along the way, and just deal with it. But let's see what the extra Hellions can make any impact. And then we might have a 2-base follow-up. In fact, I think we will.
Yeah, like 3rd barracks is done, and he's tried to avoid vision as well, getting these Hellions out there. And Cham, he is so like blind right now to what's happening. He even made a spore crawler in his natural, just being like, okay, I'll make a spore here in case it's like a liberator or like a banshee or something. But no, then he's got this big push appearing at his 3rd, and he has no idea. The Hellions are nicely positioned to get some big shots off. The Marines are getting fairly low here, but taking out a queen immediately. All the Lings taken out as well. And Cham, is he even going to be able to hold this? I'm not even sure. He is totally not ready for this.
He'll clean it up, but I mean, it's basically game. Yeah, GG.
I look at him. Look at his reaction on the webcam as well. Like, yeah, he had no idea what was coming that game. His Overlord remained on the outskirts of Special's base. Special really bamboozled him by showing him something very normal, but Cham just didn't scout at all, and yeah, totally caught off guard there.
We did see 3 Marines, I think it was, with a couple of Lings, and I thought that might have like clued him in, but then again, maybe he was like, is it a Hellbat thing? Because you can make like a couple of Marines in a medevac and do a Hellbat attack, or maybe he was like, oh, it is the 3cc, so I'm going to expect it 30 seconds later. Like, it must have been confusing for him. And that, I guess, maybe is some of the goal. And then, yeah, having, 4 Hellions and 1 didn't die added into that mix really does just push it a little bit over the edge, even if they are thinking they can perfectly hold with X number of Lings and Queens. But he was out of position anyways. It was always going to be ugly. I do believe with that 2-0, we are going to be headed into a break. And when we come back, we'll see if it's going to just be all 3 zeros today. Stay tuned. It could be the last game of the series, could be the last game of the day. Apparently, that is just the trends today. Bunch of 2 zeros, and now maybe 2 back-to-back 3 zeros. Special looking very strong, pulling out apparently a TY build. This chat would love to let us know, and it worked well. Cham did not anticipate it. He was not quite prepared. All of his ducks were in the right row, and now he's down 0-2 against someone who he actually usually plays better against. Right? So I don't know where his headspace is going in a Death Aura, but it can't be in a super great place.
No, definitely not. I mean, when you're losing that kind of hard, and I mean, I feel mean saying that somebody's losing hard, but Special is just, he's coming out with cheeky stuff, and he's just playing it super damn well. Like, that build, I haven't really seen it before, you know, but he made it look like that's exactly what you should be doing. Cham tried to skip Banelings entirely, got super hardcore punish, had no idea what was happening. And yeah, in the first game, it was like a 3C build. So I love these kind of series games where it's like you keep your opponent guessing and you remain one step ahead against your opponent at all times.
I think it's what's happening, you know, and it really sucks too, because Cham would be thinking like, oh, I'll kind of like quote unquote throw away the first game, try and get a free win. If it doesn't, you know, so well, so be it. But then the second game, you get immediately bopped by their attack, and you're like, oh, well, now I'm very quickly down 0-2. I don't feel so good anymore. There's no throwaway games. Let's see if they can bring it back. Let's see if this is finally, not just going to be a clean sweep. In the top left, as the blue Terran, we have Special.
And spawning over in the bottom right-hand side, as our red Zerg, it is Cham. Yeah, I'm hoping for sorry to interrupt. I'm hoping for Cham's sake that he plays a little up to his own expectations, because he was saying, let's just finish this. I can't believe I'm playing so bad in the lobby, which is always kind of unfortunate, because these players, they practice, train, and when it's not coming together and then this person's come obviously super prepared for you, it's always a very rough one.
Yeah, that is not a good thing to hear when you're thinking maybe Cham can bring this back. I mean, it sometimes is kind of just one of those days, though, where like, yeah, I just rather the day be over with, especially because he does have a second chance, and a very strong second chance, as it really would be favoring him against Eric in the lower bracket. But I guess that does get a little bit tricky. ZVZ can be kind of, I guess kind of scary, and Eric has taken games off of Cham before, too. It's definitely in a good place, but Cham would return, in my opinion, stronger the next time these two would face. Let's not call it over too soon. Maybe that just lack of caring is the kind of thing we're talking about with Kelezer, or we were talking about it with Stefano. Yeah, that's right as well. Where it's just like the less pressure, just get more like fluid, and then you're okay. And Death Aura hopefully is going to give us an opportunity to see Cham do his build, and then maybe even kind of forget about that bad mentality as he gets into 6-7 minutes and is now thinking purely about the game.
Yeah, that's the beautiful thing about StarCraft 2. Like, every new game is a clean slate. And regardless of what happened before, if you can reset yourself, it is a new time to shine. Special again with a 3cc build. And I like this as well. Like, Death Aura is a pretty large map, even though it does have these speed zones. It's also, even though that looks like it's an obvious place to spot, in this series so far, Cham has been super careful about his single Overlord and hasn't really been like popping it in. He's been far more inclined to just have it kind of poking at the natural to see what leaves the natural. So I think this is Special very much kind of playing his opponent, but also, even though he's already done a 3cc build, he did the 2-1-1 kind of follow-up, right? Which is on Romanticide. Whereas here, it's going to be the 1-1-1 follow-up. So Special... again, I do love a player that likes to mix it up a little bit.
More of the classic 3cc and not this this new stuff that's now rampant in TVZ. So it is unfortunate for Cham because, some other Zergs would have an Overlord actually all the way over to the left. I'd say where his is maybe more popular, but I know, I think Cyril sometimes puts that Overlord all the way over the left. Stefano, maybe. They would see that third CC, and then if you see it that early, if they think, oh, his Overlord's there, and it's actually not, it's directly seeing you stop on a third CC, oh yeah, you could, change your mind and go for an all-in, and it might be pretty effective. But then how eager is Cham to do an all-in after the last two games? And especially on Death Aura too. I mean, maybe he'll play Roaches because he is Cham, and I think more so than other Zergs, he's okay with playing with Roaches, but I don't want him to, and I'm glad to see he throws in a Banley Nest and a Lair.
There was a period of time, and this is before Fungal became like a projectile, that, in fact, was it? No. Do you remember when Snoot still played and Roach Ravager was totally a thing into Broodlord and stuff with Infestors? Yes. That was when I remember Cham being real freaking insane, actually. He used to play that style super damn well, and he stuck on the Roaches for quite some time afterwards. This is a very quick Lair, by the way. This is the game prior, he went for the upgrades before, whereas this game is no, I'm getting a Baneling Nest, I'm getting a Lair, so maybe going for speed before upgrades. This is the almost Korean-esque ZVT opening. But yeah. Cham's also mixing it up a little bit, maybe just a little bit worried about the fact that Special's thrown so much crap at him. And by the way, look at this build from Special.
Whoa. So I actually thought this was going to be the 2 factory, Blue Flame into Stim, but then he's going into just Widow Mines. So, I mean, clearly the armory is going to be for the Widow Mines to be invisible. Plus, sure, if you wanted to turn these into Hellbats, it'll be a double whammy. But then, yeah, there's still a question mark of, is it going into stim or into mech? In the past, you'd be like 100% into mech once you see a second factory. But now, yeah, now it is. It is actually very likely he's going to go to stim, and there it is. And then 2 more barracks. So hopefully Cham doesn't get deceived and start changing his mind about the Spire play. I don't think he will. But then, of course, hopefully he actually defends against all this harassment.
And how greedy is this build from Special? This is like the 3cc. Can you imagine if this was the game that he's getting Roach all in? Yeah, he'd be pretty dead right now. But like, it's not. And like Special, he's so good at scouting and kind of manipulating his opponent. This drop is absolutely arriving super damn early. And yeah, the Widow Mines are revealed now. Cham's actually handling it pretty well by the looks of it. That was some very unfortunate drones. But yeah, getting Widow Mine drops here, there, and everywhere. And gets a full scout off of every base as well. Ooh.
You're absolutely right about being a bit greedy there. So it is kind of like it's coming down to what we saw from Clem earlier today. You know, the Cure build as well. But then addition being, I mean, I think even a much faster second factory, you know? So it was already pretty quick when Clem did it, but it's even faster here. And then also the Hellbats being included with a Medevac too, getting the cancel on that 4th base. They're going to be cleaned up by the Mutas. No doubt about that. But as the Lings, ooh, the Lings might find a 4th. And what a fast 4th that is. They just bypass it. Okay, then. Get SCD still.
Special's like, yeah, I don't really need to make units that actually fight, right? I can just go pure Widow Mines all the way. And his 4th gets cancelled. I mean, that was a ballsy location to put it. Now he's just going to start defending with only Widow Mines on his side of the map. He does cancel the 4th again, which is cool. But yeah, he had 4 barracks in production, and he actually has, right now, despite going bio, more Widow Mines on the map than Marines.
It's taking him a little while out on those reactors. It'll change soon. But Viking even trying to get some damage done. Trying to chance to use the drone, I think. But it's cleaned up. So that was actually a kill on his 4th base that time, by the way. So it is a pretty nasty loss for Cham, but he is continuing with his aggression. Gonna get a couple of supply depots, and here come the Mutas, actually, and those are not combat shield. There's only a couple of Marines there. Missile turret's gonna help out, but they're kind of balancing between them. Widow Mine scares them away temporarily, but man, Cham trying to run with this might be making a mistake. Those Mutas are so damn low, and Marine actually picks up one of the low ones, but he's continuing to rally forward with Lings. I mean, can he actually do this? Is this the momentum he needed?
That 4 just popped out, though, and just shot like 4 or 5 meters out of the sky.
Oh, if there was 2 Banelings on that natural, that would have been absolutely deadly. There's only 1, however, so only 9 SCVs have gone down in this attack specifically, but overall, lots of SCVs have gone down. 4th bases have been canceled. 3rd base has not been mining. This was hectic. This has turned into a bit of a weird game, and I guess things are going to calm down now, but Cham, I feel like he almost did it. It felt like he almost got into the Terran production with like 7 Mutas and 10 Lynx. That would have been an amazing way to win.
That would have been one way to get yourself back into the series and maybe feeling more confident as well. Because, yeah, that was momentum, right? Through and through. Like, this game, everything else, it was like, okay, been shutting down Widow Mine drops here and there. And we talked about how greedy this build was from Special. And he just showcased it entirely because, holy crap, that was close.
Yeah, that was... I mean, it literally was the difference of like 10 more seconds, and there's so many Marines available because all his reactors are like finishing up, and he's got more Widow Mines as well. And that Thor would have been popped out. Like, would have been easy peasy, but he carried with the momentum he found. Maybe it was a shorter map, it would have been even deadlier. But a couple of downsides, I guess, from Cham doing that, as he loses a couple more Mutas too. It looks like with all that was going on, not a whole lot of creep spread, and he only now has gotten up to that truly, scary point with the drones on 5 bases or soon to be 5 bases. But if he's going to continue keeping Special back at home, well, then this is still great for Cham. He's going to eventually get that creep spread out. He's going to utilize about 82 workers on 5 bases. That is a scary position when the Terran isn't doing much to stop that.
This is really scary, actually. Like, oh, these Widow Mines, that is a juicy hit. 4 drones plus a lot of units by the looks of it. This Widow Mine, though, nicely handled by Cham. Special's done a great job of climbing back in supply because, like, he was looking real down and out for a little bit of time. And I think Cham, like, the fact that he was flying aggressively with his Mutas without an overseer against this amount of Widow Mines was definitely a little bit scary. But he's done a good job. He took his 4th and 5th at the same time, but now Special, he's going to start doing that thing that Terrans do where they make life for Zerg a living hell.
Yeah, Cham was so busy dealing with those Widow Mines. He had so many queens that are actually missing injects, and they certainly weren't creep spreading, so he had no knowledge about the attack on the left side as his Mutas also came back home to clean things up. Now that his army's over here, though, he's trying to get the wrapper on the Marines, trying to keep them in place so the Banelings can do their job. Not quite happening, but still forcing the liftoff means the Mutas can tackle 2 medevacs worth of units. A hit squad of Marines over the right side might find a couple more drones. Cham desperately responds to that. And this is getting something done, but it's not actually, like, I would say it's not quite enough if this is going to be it. If this is going to be it for the attack, maybe Cham can still go into the hive like he planned. Maybe he can still take the map like he planned.
You know what's the craziest thing about this? 20 drones have gone down, and then I look at the income tab, 92 drones still on the map. Maybe Special did Cham a favor by killing as many drones as he did, but, like, Special, he is just... This is some reckless play by him. Like, he is throwing every unit that he has across the other side of the map. And don't get me wrong, I like it. In fact, I love it. But he has to be careful, because at some point, you know, Cham is just going to get so confident that he pushes across the other side. That being said, Special is now going to be 2-2. It's very close to completing against just the 1-1 of Cham.
A lot of SCVs start losing, though. Yeah, it's a very good point about those upgrades. If there's a maxed out push to come, like, it is going to be a scary push, but Cham, unlike, you know, our previous series where Eric was stuck on that layer-based army, Cham's actually going to have his hive, so we'll see what he, you know, exactly he can get to with that. Obviously, he's not going to get to 3-3 that quickly, but Ultras, certainly, maybe Vipers if that was a tank issue. It's not, so I don't think so, but I mean, he is still keeping up the pace of a regular TVZ despite taking some damage here and there. He's also returning the damage, and now that things have calmed down, right? Cham's even getting on the other side of the map and looking to potentially take out a planetary. He's going to be scouted, though, and Special's going to keep his army where it is.
And luckily, where's that medevac going, though? Okay, so that single Ling there could have been a champion. Getting rid of that one Widow Mine would have helped so much, but the Widow Mine, it doesn't actually connect on the units that he wants to, and immediately just takes out that 4th base.
That kind of sucks for Special. You know, his army was actually in position, so you would hope that they would never be able to just kind of bop it and leave. But that was the kind of the exact number of Banelings that were necessary to do that. The Mutas, I think one was lost, a couple, but they ended up retreating, even finding a flying medevac back home. That was a powerful blow because Cham, of course, with how many drones he has, he's finally back down to a more typical number of 82. Yeah, he can replace that. And he still has a little bit of creep thread to work with, too. Special moves out. The Mutas try and move in. They're going to find a Thor. A little stacked up, though. Yeah, good save from Special.
Good save from Special, but I think Cham's in a really good spot this game. Like, if this was, if his creep spread was maybe a little bit more forward. Oh, the Mutas are actually inside the main base now as well. But Special, he's struggling to get over or up to 200 supply, whereas Cham is now accumulating a pretty darn decent bank. And he's on Hive Tech, which is always a pretty good place to be at. And he's now able to launch counterattacks with a mass amount of Zerglings here.
Yeah, he's just sending all of his Lings, really. Like, he's got a Baneling squad back at home. So, like, in case Special goes for the all-in, this is exactly what's going to happen. Just Marines face-tanking the Banelings. Now, there's a lot of Marines, and now Special's going to be paying attention, but it's always awkward to base trade against the Zerg. I know everyone says don't base trade a Terran, but actually, in this matchup, it's, I would say, a lot more difficult for the Terran. They're going to go on creep as the game gets wonky, as it gets faster, and they're going to be making more mistakes. Barely pulling away in time from the Banelings, but still taking some hits. He's killed one base and would love to get another, but Special's, all 3 of his bases are now under attack. Like, it is going worse for Special here, and I think Cham's got this game.
I think so too, and that's still a lot of Banelings that he can just throw. He just lands them on the 4s, takes them out. Special can't produce units because he's supply blocked, and there's too much Zerg to defend against. Cham, though, amidst all this, still on 76 drones. So, I mean, he threw everything he could at Cham on the other side of the map, but man, Special is bleeding out right now, and he's barely mining at all as well.
Yeah, I mean, he lost his 3rd CC. I think the Mutas took care of it, or he couldn't lift it against Lings. Either way, it's gone. So now you just do another all-in? Yeah, now you tap out. That's what you do. GG, Cham. One of the first players to actually get a return match point there. Like, that is great to see, because I want to see Cham perform up to our expectations, and that was a lot more like it. That was a very nice read on when he could go with the momentum, and then he played a pretty smooth macro game after that, going up to, at one point, I guess, 100 drones, because he was at 92 when he just lost a bunch, and playing out Death Or like we'd like to see.
I do like that Special brought and yet another build to the mix. But maybe that build might have been a little bit too greedy, you know, like the having more Widow Mines than Marines and just hoping that your opponent doesn't attack. But fortunately or unfortunately for him, Cham made the right call and just did attack, already put like a spanner in the works, if you will. And I'm glad to see that Cham isn't down and out. And maybe now, after, you know, things have already gone about as wrong as they could, maybe now it's time that he can relax a little bit and be like, all right, now I'll start playing my game.
You know, I wouldn't be surprised if that type of game is one where like an Idro would say like, well, he wasn't supposed to do that, so really he's still a bad player, you know, because Cham, I feel, was supposed to stay at home and defend his fourth base and not have it canceled and then straight up killed. And instead he was sending some units across the map, looking for that opportunity that did eventually evolve into such great momentum. And it's like, I'm sure for Special, he's played out that build where he's the one consistently dealing the pressure and always present on the map, so that he does get to do whatever he wants back at home, because the Zerg player's too worried about XYZ. And instead, Cham just found that one moment right before the reactors were done, right before there was just enough Marines to utilize his Lings and his Mutas. Excellent game on Death Aura, but I think this next map's going to give us a very different game. It is Lightshade.
Yeah, I mean, like, you've been talking about this map a lot when it comes down to that roach kind of strategy. And if there's anybody that really likes roaches, it is Cham. So we'll see. I do. When I was watching Special do that build last map, I was like, this is definitely a build that I'd love to try out. But I know for sure I'm going to get attacked at some point. I'm just going to die. And I am wondering which Zergs I could potentially pull it off against over in Europe, but mate, I think they're all so freaking aggressive these days, or they all can be. Anyhow, spawning over in the bottom or top left-hand side as our blue Terran, it is Special.
It was a build with a do not try this at home sticker on it. You know,
yes,
I wouldn't suggest it, guys. The bottom right, as the red Zerg for Exxon, he is Cham.
Now, let's see what both of them pull out this game. Lightshade, it's a relatively short rush distance map, just a tiny bit bigger than Submarine, but it's very awkward to defend your third as a Terran against these big swell of roaches, because if you overcommit to defending your third, there's this huge path that goes directly into your natural. And I mean, the third, as our observer mapper was showing us, it's a massive, massive area. It's not as if it's choky to defend against. You can get a huge surround on it. And so you absolutely have to commit to defending that. Then if you overcommit to that, well, you can just kind of bypass that and go straight into the natural, which makes it very, very tricky. And Terrans haven't quite mastered and figured out how they should really do things against that roach attack, making it very, very popular.
Yeah. I mean, it's 33 seconds from natural to natural, but then Lightshade, with the way that you expand, and certainly can expand or choose to expand, you're talking third to third or fourth to third. That I don't know how much that is, that 25 seconds? Like, it's just insanely short. If Cham does want to do an aggressive push, it is the same case, of course. Let's look at the other side. Like, if Terran does get to a position where it's not going to be him being all in, that Special can do his attacks, then yeah, the shortness can also help him a little bit. But another point about that kind of area around the third is that I think the map makers were very keen on not letting Terrans abuse tanks on top of a hatchery, right? Like, you cannot siege your tanks on that high ground where the rocks are on that third, and to the left of this, and hit anything important. So yeah, exactly there. Like, that doesn't hit anything important. In fact, that's still a lot of creep spread to go through. So honestly, I would love to see a map, I haven't seen it yet, honestly, where we do have the Terrans able to do pushes. I don't know how I push in this map. I want to learn as a Terran player how to push, but it feels like everyone's just killing the Terran players or barely not killing them and tapping out.
So Special back at home, he's actually opting for the 2-on-1 follow-up here with going the 3cc. very 3cc orientated is Special, which makes me think, like, because when I watch Special, I'm always like, okay, this guy has a lot of builds. He likes his multitasking and stuff, but this is definitely one that I need to try out a little bit more. I've been kind of going with the Clem route, where he goes for like the double gas and stuff, but even he was going for this kind of thing. So, always fun to see these kind of builds in action, because there are a lot of follow-ups to them.
Yeah, we've seen developing follow-ups, even some really tricky builds come from it. And while this one, I guess, is more the basic one, I thought, it was at one point a little bit rare. TY showed it, and a couple people stole it for a little while, and then it kind of died down. Like, it's back. It seems like it is one of, like, 50-50 on whether it's a 1-1-1 follow-up or a 2-1-1 follow-up from the 3rd CC. And I guess the question is kind of like how many Hellions from this specific build. A couple of drones going down. He's going up to 4. And then maybe going to swap off afterwards. It is definitely bio. And Cham, I don't think he's scouted anything from this at all yet.
Yeah, from what I've seen with Cham, he really doesn't scout barely at all. He sends in like one Overlord that kind of loves to sit above the natural. This is the one that kind of tried to get into the main. And so far, he just kind of spotted like a few Marines, which, those Marines are kind of out in the open there. They're going to try and save these Hellions, which, depending on the surface area here, this is nice control by Special. Like, that is very good value.
Certainly. Could have gone the opposite direction. Absolutely. Yeah, he doesn't do a lot of scouting. You're right about that. Which means, like, in this case, okay, he's not going to die immediately. It really sucks to not scout a Hellbat attack coming, but you want to at least try and match it. Identify exactly what type of follow-up it is, and then say, okay, if it's going to be this, it's going to hit at this. I have time to do this until that hit. And so he's only just going to get that information right now. I guess one of the key things here is he's not going to see a super quick second factory, so a little less on the whole fear of just massive wood mine drops, and more on that kind of just double drop, 6 minutes, and then we'll see what happens from there. But Cham, Ling, Baneling, and then maybe Muta is actually not sure what you do in this map, because this is one of the rare times I've seen someone play Ling, Baneling on Lightshade.
Wait, is Special just on one engineering bay?
He was in the first game. Actually, when Cham all-in'd him, he went one engineering bay, and then the second one came down later at the wall. And I forgot to comment on that, but I was like, that is weird.
Yeah, I like Terrence, so he's going up to 3 CCs, right? Like, normally you can always afford that second engineering bay with gas, and I mean, right now he is actually real low on gas, and he's going up to 4 and 5 barracks, but this kind of looks... This, to me, looks a bit like he was trying to hard counter a Roach all-in. A little bit, 'cause the armor isn't as necessary, but this so far, like this little bit of pressure is doing way more than it should do.
Yes, it is. I mean, once again, caught a position, and then kind of the awkwardness that can't happen as a Zerg player. Your Lings race fourth in a single line, and then the Banelings show up, right? Kind of turns awkward real quick. So that's a decent amount of creep spread cleaned up. A little bit of a kerfuffle and some drones. I guess some Lings got equalizing damage. I'm kind of worried about the creep spread, is what I'm looking at mostly right now. So different hooks will be done, and eventually Cham will have that upgrade lead, but Special looking towards that top right base, going to find a couple of Banelings that are going to roll past. Cham now has to try and defend. He's got an okay number of Banelings waiting, but he needs to get back to... He's actually just back building the drones. Wow, yeah. Okay.
Let's look at this production tab, Zombie Grub. I mean, there's not really much creep up here. 2 tanks, that's very scary. So Cham kind of overcommitted there. 3 extra barracks on the way when he's already on 5, and he's only on +1. There actually isn't an armory done at all either. That's just one engine. This is super weird build by Special, like super all in.
So I guess it's kind of like a supercharged ARAX. You get to the 3cc pretty quickly, you get your typical drop off of that. When you follow up with barracks, and then it's just really powerful ARAX all in. I'm interested to see how this works out, as Cham has a very awkward start to this game with the drop doing more damage than it should have, and then this push being way too surprising to the point where he had just made 11 drones, and it was extra awkward. So I'm glad he gave it up, but he did only after losing a couple of Banelings. He's going to now expand to the bottom left or mid left, but there's no creep spread there. And this is a short map. Absolutely. If they're not going to kill you first, I can definitely see ARAX as being annoying to hold with how much pressure and maybe how hard it is to get a run by going. Cham's really trying, though. He's trying over on that left side. Couple Banelings rolling on through. Going to be caught, so not going to do too much. And, well, Special, I guess he's not repositioning, is he? He's actually breaking down the rocks and move over to the right, so that's still where creep spread exists. Maybe Cham can't take a good fight. He's down 40 supply.
Yeah, Cham needs to hold on, because if he can survive till 2-2, then he's absolutely in this game. But Cham is actually launching massive counterattacks as well, which, is that the right move? I mean, if he can get damage done, if he can get a run by inside the base of Special, then he's going to be looking pretty. But he has to respect this push at the same time, and that is a lot of terror.
He gave up the space too, I think. Like, he had so much army on the left side, and even with it, it's a questionable hold. He has another base in the bottom left. He could try going to drone, but he's going to try and keep this base alive while also dealing the counterattack damage. A lot of SCVs are going down. He might be able to break into the main base with a decent number of units, but we're once back into a base trade scenario. Question is, does Cham have enough Banelings to really take advantage of the creep spread?
Oh, this is actually getting kind of close. The supplies might be a little bit deceiving here. 2-2 is very close to finishing, but Special is not going to let it happen. That is a lot of bio still in the base of Cham. And given that Cham attacked with a lot of Banelings, in fact, look at Cham's bank. He's got so much minerals, so much gas. Nice snipes on the Banelings. The drones being pulled, the Lings being pulled. Tanks coming in from the top as well. GG, Special